Now, I'm putting my...
Wait, not yet. Not yet.
Keep rolling, big.
Oh. We should slate it, don't you think?
Yeah. Rolling?
Okay, is that the light?
Where are you sitting? Down there? Why? Why is he down there?
He can do what he wants. Let him do what he wants.
Why are you so far from me?
Okay. All right,
Get
so
closer. No, you come here. That's it. That's more like it. Lovey-dovey, sort of, you know. They say as you get older, your love grows stronger. So for some reason, it is getting a little stronger, you know. Right, Daddy? He's bashful.
Yeah, I know. Well, I wanted to start. You were going to tell us about the sauce. You were going to show us how to do the sauce.
Well, what should I say?
Well, you're gonna get up and show it to us. But I wanted to know who, how did you learn it?
Well, what are you asking?
About the sauce. How did you learn how to make sauce?
Well, I'm supposed to be talking to you?
You could talk to me. You could talk to them. It doesn't matter. I'll be over here.
Should I mention your name?
No. Doesn't matter. Yeah, you mentioned my name. Yeah.
You want? What should I say? You want me to know? You want me to tell you how I learned how to make sauce?
How did you learn
Well,
how to make sauce?
why don't you ask me the question? Don't you hear that then?
No.
I mean, if you would ask me a question, I would answer.
I'm gonna say it now.
Right?
I want to know how you learned how to make sauce. Who taught you? Who taught it to you? How long? I mean, how many years you've been doing it? And I want to see you do it.
Well, you know, when you first get married, you're really not much of a cook. I watched my mother make sauce. I watched my mother-in-law. I got a lot from my mother-in-law, a lot from the family.
She got more than my mother, from my mother than my mother.
See, there he goes putting his mother in again.
All right, let's go inside and let's see.
So now, if you want me to
come on.
show you, I'll come and show you how I make the sauce.
There were two different cooks anyway to begin with.
How am I doing so far?
Terrific.
All right, now, to begin with...
Her mother had 9 children.
9 children?
Yeah.
And how did that affect the cooking?
Well, some kids didn't like certain things, and she used to satisfy them in different ways. And then
She became a better cook because of that?
No. Well, my mother-in-law was a good cook, but the thing is that she couldn't cook with the way she wanted. See, beginning with her husband, my father-in-law, he used to cook for himself, so he's giving a better example right there. Eh?
You notice the towel doesn't leave my hands because I keep wiping all the time.
But as far as cooking, it was a big job to cook for 7 people. 8, 9 with my father. Yeah. My father used to work at nights a lot. And she had to satisfy him in the daytime, and he used to go to sleep, and she used to cook for him and then cook for the children. It was
Maybe separate shifts.
And then I go here. This is what my mother-in-law taught me. Take a few spoonfuls of tomato, and throw them in here because your meatballs remain very soft. Not like some of the meatballs you eat sometime. You're invited somewhere.
Yeah.
You eat a meatball and it's as hard as can be. You throw it at the wall will crack. I really shouldn't say that because I have a lot of friends and I'll be getting a lot of telephone calls.
As a kid, sure. I worked in after school. I used to deliver vests. Vests. To make vests. At the time, there was a big thing for vests. When I used to deliver the vest, I used to tell my cousin, he used to be a boss. I used to work for him. I used to tell him, at the time the cafe was a nickel. I used to tell him, give me 35, 40 cents. Why? Where are you going to go with 35, 40? You want to give me 35, 40 cents? Go yourself. But I always kept that money in my pocket because I used to hitchhike on the horses, on the back of the horse and wagon. I used to go around.
Well, on Saturdays, what did you do on Saturdays?
On Saturdays, I used to go to the Delancey Street. There used to be a time that the Jewish people didn't light up their own stoves, you know, and the gas. They wouldn't light no matches.
On Saturdays?
On Saturday was a Sabbath day. I used to go there for a nickel. I used to light their gas.
Well, my mother-in-law used to teach a lot of it. Used to teach us a lot of it, you know. My mother taught me one way, and my mother-in-law had a different slant to cooking. She was a very good cook.
Yeah, but why did you wind up cooking that way?
Because to please him more. Naturally, that's the truth. And you know,
How did you amuse yourself?
Mostly always eating, going to different restaurants, from one restaurant to another.
Delicious.
The time it was cheap.
Very good.
We were from on House and Street for knishes and a cup of coffee for a dime. A dime.
What, you Schimmel?
Yeah.
What was the name of the place?
Yeah, Schimmel's, the original. I used to go there.
They were the original what?
The original potato knishes.
Oh.
They are the original potato knishes. They're still there. There wasn't anything to do anyway. You had no radio. You had no television. And every now and then you used to get a paper. Guys to come out, extra. You buy the paper, there was nothing in the paper. The guys used to go away, extra. There was nothing in the paper. Yeah, it's just the people used to come down, buy the paper, there was nothing in it. Then we got a little at water Kent. I'll never forget it. The first radio we had, the little at water Kent, it was in the shape of a church. You know? It was in the shape of a church. And boy, with 7 of us in the house, we used to fight the program we used to put on.
I get it from my sisters. They have a garden, which they grow it in. They give me enough of it so I can make myself a nice jar to last me all year. And as you see, that's about the end of it. See? Leave the cover
She's
off.
trying to put on, I don't know why. She should talk natural, the way she does now. When she puts on, telling you about
My
the
husband is
sauce
so
and all,
jealous of me.
she's trying to
Why?
put on. She should talk natural. She'd be better off.
I don't know what you mean, Charlie.
Talk the way you're talking to me now. That's what I mean.
Well, she told me she wanted to know how I...
Yeah, but the thing is that you talk natural. Don't try to put on you're not an actress.
I'm not putting on any airs. You're
Well,
looking for a fight or something?
Talk the way you talk to me when you talk to your son.
You're looking for a fight or something there.
No.
See, Marty, every time I sit close to him, he moves away. I don't know why. It's either, I don't know. Maybe he's getting a little older now, you know.
Changing the subject.
Right?
She's changing the subject now.
What did you want me to say? That your mother taught me how to cook?
No.
And every time you come in the kitchen, we fight?
No.
Because you butt in my cooking? Huh?
Sometimes a man, it's been known that a man is a better cook than a woman anytime.
Who said so?
I know that.
Who said so?
It's said in the
Well,
books.
why
and
aren't
everything.
you doing the cooking then?
Not supposed to. Not my line. My line. My line, I always told you, when I come home from work,
That's right. You
it.
sit on that chair. As soon as he gets through with dinner,
That's
he comes
it.
in here, sits on that chair. You're really, really running it down, wearing it
That's
down.
all right. That's what I bought it for.
And there's times we sit in here, and I says, Charlie, are we mad at each other? Why don't we speak? He says, well, what do you want me to tell you? Gee whiz, I've been home all day. At least talk to me.
What can you tell a person after you're with them for 40 years?
And after 39 years of being married, we decided to take our belated honeymoon, which we never got. So we decided to take a trip to Italy.
Yeah, why didn't you ever get it? Because people spoke to you, and they told you about the train going fast, and you were afraid to go to you were afraid to go to Niagara Falls, and that's it. I was ready to go.
So he never took me on my honeymoon.
But
well,
they
anyway,
scared her. They
well,
scared
anyway,
her.
we took a trip to Italy. We toured for 2 weeks. I'll show you some of the pictures that we took. This was Milan.
That's Milan?
Yeah. First dinner we had, first night we went out. This was Venice. The food was delicious. This was Rome. This was in Palermo. This is my aunt here. She's 80 years old. Here I am standing. This is her niece, her granddaughter, right? And we had a few friends with us. This is also in Palermo.
What is that?
This is cows. They were in the street there, right in front of the house, and we took a picture of them. We thought it was very nice. And this was in Palermo. They called it Piazza de Vergogna, the Piazza of Shame.
The Shameful Plaza.
That's right.
Why was it called Piazza de Vergogna?
Well, because there was all these
Naked statues?
naked statues, and I thought they were just great.
No, you thought they were great.
And the statues were beautiful, and really, this was at the Leaning...
Where is that?
Leaning
Pisa.
Peter of Pisa.
Don't tell me. I'm going to guess.
Pisa, that's it. This was...
Leaning Tower of Pisa. Pisa.
What's that? What is that?
This was a monk. Naturally, it was dead a long time, so we took a picture of it. Anything that we saw, we took a picture.
Yeah, what did you think of that? I mean, you had the whole, what is that?
Well,
the body and the...
it was an impression, the way his teeth were. And this was the gondolier. Wasn't that beautiful in Venice?
The land is so beautiful, you could go see it, but there's no work over there. There's the people, they have no work over there. There are no industries.
That's why they came to America. They had better here than there. That's why you speak to these little children, 8, 9 years old. Their first words out of their mouth is, as soon as I become 18, I'm coming to America.
That's
There's
right.
your answer.
Because there is, in the little towns now.
Little towns.
In the big towns, it's like over here.
One little boy, we had a little waiter there that kept chasing me. He was 16 years old.
That was in Naples.
In Naples, he kept chasing me. He says, please, take me to America with you. I'll work, I'll do anything, but take me to America. He says to me, get away from him because he really means it. And I felt so sorry for him. I really would have put him on the boat, on the plane with me. But I felt so sorry for him because there's nothing over there.
On a plane with you, then you were responsible for him.
I would have taken him. What's the difference? Maybe he did mean. Maybe he was sincere about the whole thing. I don't know. But the way it sounded, they would have taken anybody to come here.
Well,
I think they would have came with anybody.
There's
your answer.
I lived across the street for 20 years. And naturally, when they fixed up these buildings, we wanted to better ourselves. New furniture and all. So my wife said, let's move across the street. I was against it. But then, you know how it is. You always give in. When we first, the Italian people came in, as I said before, first was all Irish. Then the Italian people came in. And there was a lot of Jewish business around here. There was a little 5 and 10 cent store. There was a shoe store. All Jewish business around here.
Mostly Jewish trade.
A dry goods store. Stands with like Orchard Street would be today.
Yeah.
There was push cards, you know.
Push card.
That's as crowded as Orchard Street?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, it wasn't crowded as Orchard Street, but we had
crowded.
But naturally, the neighborhood people would come down to shop.
I never forget,
shopping,
the push cards in the morning were on this side because there was no sun. In the afternoon, when the sun came on this side, the push cards shifted over to the other side. There was no sun. But there was a great business over here. You couldn't get a store over here.
It was beautiful.
Stores were, there wasn't a store empty.
Every store on the block was taken.
Every store, every basement was taken.
Every store.
Because you had the lemon dealers. At the time, we used to get lemons from Europe. Imported lemons from Europe. You don't get them today anymore. And they used to have lemon oranges, all kinds of fruit. They used to have, there was 1, 2, 3, 4 different places of all that stuff around here. Import. Then I don't know what happened. They faded away when they got sort of a depression, like, you know, and people started to move out.
They started to move, you know. Business started to close.
But as far as the neighborhood here in Delancey Street and Orchard Street was all together. Jewish and Italians, they all worked together. And as far as actually stealing, kids all used to steal.
Kids, petty
stuff, you know. Just for fun sometimes. It takes something, on a push cart, make the guy chase him, and the rest of the kids just to go and pick stuff and go away with it.
What do you mean? They used to...
Went from hand to hand.
While he was chasing one guy, the other one just take a few pieces and go away.
And that's it.
Go away. It was
the poor man is chasing
him. You know, all kid stuff.
You know.
That's all it was. But kid stuff or no kid stuff, sometimes it was that you needed that stuff. You know, it was like, it isn't like today. It's like your mother and father couldn't afford to get you anything. You used to... Kid used to grab something and... use it, you know, fruit or vegetable, whatever it was, or a piece of crockery or something like that.
I remember my brother Charlie getting older. He got a job. He was 14 years old. And as I says, we had to go out to work. And he got a job working for J.P. Morgan, I think it was, as a messenger boy, $14 a week, something like that. And, of course, we started to, you know, little by little, one brother started to work, and the other brother started to work, and the sister, and we started to accumulate some money. And I remember one Christmas, my brother finally told my mother that they wanted to put up a tree. And we were thrilled. So they bought the tree, and they put the, whatever it was, candles. I think they used to use candles at the time. We didn't have no electricity. And we put up a tree. But there was no such thing before that. I mean, we never had a tree. We only had Christmas time, like, for instance, one night, they wanted to play a joke on the kids. The kids hung up their stockings. They were kids. They hung up their stockings. We had a real fireplace, but it was never used. So they hung up their socks on the fireplace, you know, thinking they'd find something from Santa Claus the next day. And just to play joke on them, we were a little older. We stuffed them up with lemons and pieces of wood and lots of things we found. And then after we felt bad because it was really terrible. When the kids woke up and they looked at those socks, honest, they cried, honest. It was really terrible. We shouldn't have done that. Now when I think of it, I say, that was terrible what we did to them. But as I said, as we went along, you know, it was different.
I never remember a Christmas tree in my mother's house. I don't remember.
That's right, never
I
did.
never remember a Christmas tree in my mother's house.
We had a Christmas tree.
Why?
Well, as I said, they didn't go for it, the old folks. They didn't go for it. What they believe in was that at 12 o'clock at night, they went to church, they celebrated Mass, and after that, they came home. We had some sausage and things like that at the church, and the next day, we had a big dinner with the family. Our fathers and mothers, they were from a different world. They were different. They brought us up. As long as we ate and we were healthy, that's all that counted. They couldn't afford to send us to school. They didn't have that kind of money. So they had all to do to survive. And thank God that my mother and father, we all got, they reached to see us all get married and all settle up nice families, and that's it.
My mother used to wash clothes by hand with the washboard. Scrub them, and then we had no stoves, no gas stove. We had a coal stove, which she used to heat up, put this big pot on top of it, put the Clorox, whatever you had, put it in there, and boil your clothes and let them come white. You could just imagine 9 children with all these diapers and clothes and things like that. Our poor mothers worked. We didn't have the bathroom was in the hallways, you know. In those tenements, that's the way it was. We were lucky to have it in the hallway. Some tenements had them in the backyards. And you had to get the key and go down to the backyard. You couldn't imagine.
What were they, back houses? Remember you
back houses,
no,
regular...
tenements in the back. Describe those tenements
No,
in the back.
no. They were regular back houses built up. There were bathrooms there, you know.
Yeah, what was the Italian word for it? Remember the Italian word?
Back house.
As far as this, anybody that talks bad about this neighborhood,
No, you can't.
forget it.
Were the Chinese here when you first came here?
The Chinatown was confined on the other side of Canal Street. That was Chinatown. Strictly Chinatown.
In fact, Marty, Chinatown, Chinatown, people were afraid to walk through it.
Years
They
ago,
see
they
so
had the
many
tongue
stories about it. But it wasn't true. It wasn't true.
No, that was true. They had a tongue war there. Yeah, I remember as a kid.
It was true.
You had the detectives, 2 in each
In
corner.
other words, it was dangerous.
Not to us, amongst themselves.
Oh,
they had
amongst
tongue war.
themselves. Well,
Amongst
naturally, you always get
Now,
people that
they're still
feud.
amongst themselves.
You got them in feet.
Still amongst them. Now,
Same thing the Irish did when they...
Right.
everybody, there's a
They
resentment.
resented us.
You see, but...
What do you mean, the Irish?
Well,
Well,
the
this
Irish
was
people,
this
when
was
the
an Irish
Italian people
neighborhood.
came here, they resented it too because they didn't want to
It
be
was
thrown out of their own neighborhood. You used to have, how many bars you had over here? When my father came here? How many bars you had here? You had about 6, 7 bars over here. All Irish bars. And there was only one guy, that remained over here till they threw the building out. No, they threw the buildings down. And it's not like it was years ago that the people used to leave their doors open and it was like all one big house, the whole apartment. You're going from hello, the doors are open and you go into one house and to another. Like me, if I don't like when my mother used to cook, I used to go downstairs and eat. I had to go upstairs and say, what are you cooking, Mom? I didn't like it. Downstairs. We used to be like all one family. It was different. It was altogether different.
It's really the...
Yeah.
I want to
You were
stir
saying?
that sauce. I want to stir the sauce.
You want what?
Stir the sauce.
What do you think he was saying about over there before, when you were talking before about the Irish? What was that?
When he says there's a lot of bars,
There were a lot of bars?
well, naturally, every corner had mostly bars, and you had a lot of stores and things, you know, but from what I gather...
But what did you were saying something, though, about him, what he said? You
I
didn't
don't
like-
want him to say that.
Why not?
Because
You wanted to say what?
about Irish people, I mean, after all, we really did come in here and live here, you know what I mean? And then, of course, it's just like everything else, you know. They were here first, naturally. It's just like kids when they find something, and they find it, and they have it, and then somebody comes along and wants it, and they say, no, I found it first, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I guess they resent it, you know. But then, as he says, it sort of started to get, you know, everybody got together, and then they was one happy family. That's all. And, you know, it wasn't too bad after a while. They sort of got used to the idea. But in the beginning, it was a little tough. But it's just like everything else. Now my meatballs are in. I shall put my cover on and forget about it. That's it.
Your father, what he was doing and where he came from, what the town was and all that.
My father came from Bolice in Sicily, and a little town in Sicily. And when he was a little boy, about 6 or 7 years old, his mother had died, and his father remarried. And somehow or another, I don't know what happened, but he didn't want to stay there. And some men took him in. He had a farm, he had goats and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he would work for this man. As he grew up, he would work for this man. At 19 years old, he was coming to this country. This man didn't want him to come over here. This man wanted him to marry one of his daughters. This man had 3 daughters, no sons.
Mm-hmm.
And he says he would give him anything he wanted. But my father says, no, I'm going to America. So he came away, he was about 19 years old. And,
around what year was that, like, around?
Well, I would say 1901, something like that. He started to work as a laborer. When he was 21 years old, he decided that he wanted to get married, and he went to my mother, and he married her. And he got married right here in the old St. Patrick's Church, the old cathedral.
Uh-huh.
During World War I, he went to work on ships.
Yeah.
And when they had him down the hull there, they were working on the ships way down. After the times, they wouldn't even let them come up because they figured if these people come up, they would go away because they wouldn't want to work under those conditions. They kept them there for a week or so just to give them food and everything else. But after a week or so, just to make them come up and go out. And he finally wanted to work for the New York Steam. And as he worked for the New York Steam, without an education, he had 100 people working for him.
What was New York Steam?
New York Steam consists of Con Edison today. They took it over.
I see.
Con Edison.
And what kind? Did he go into business or anything?
I'd say about 8, 9, or 10 businesses, all in fruit and vegetables. And every one of them he put up, he lost money on them. He always didn't make out. But he kept trying. And day comes up, he says, I bought the grocery store downstairs. We were all furious. We don't want him to get into business. But he got into business. And the New York Steam people came over to him. They wanted him back again. He wouldn't go back. He says, no, I got my own business, and that's it. But my father was the type of a man, he wanted to be in business. He always told me, anytime you're in business, you can owe all the money in the world, but you always got money in your pocket when you're in business. And you can always support, a family. You got money. The bills, you paid them as they came along. Finally, after so many years, he lost it too. And he lost it just at the time when the Second World War started. As far as my mother goes, well, she was a strong woman. My father would never get into arguments with anybody. She would face them. My father she would push my father always on the side. She was a very strong woman, even with us, with the children. And she had to say something she told you, and that was it. And you couldn't answer her. He was tough.
When did she come over? And what kind of boat trip? I mean,
Oh, she had
tell us a little about that.
Bad.
When she came over.
When she came over, she said she almost died on a trip there. The boats were small, were very small. But it took her over a month to get over here by boat. Like our mother, the same thing. They came over here, the boats were, the waves, they thought they'd never make it. And they came over here. Her mother done came over here years ago, but I don't remember her. Yeah. And she died, and all that. My mother was she was a real whip. Because I remember, as a little boy, we used to have, in 241, we had 2 boarders. We had, with the room, 2 boarders. I mean, people that lived with us.
Yeah.
In the kitchen. Where you see the kitchen, used to be a bedroom.
Yeah, but they used to pay?
Oh, yeah. My mother used to cook for them, wash their clothes, and used to pay.
So how many people were in the rooms?
There was 2 boarders, me, my father. I was born as Rosie, Mo, me, Mikey, and Joey, and Fan. We were 7, and 2 was 9.
How many rooms?
No, there's the kitchen, 4 rooms. That's all, 4 small rooms. There was no such thing as elaborate rooms. You know what that was? You had no furniture then. You had the beds.
Bed and chair.
In the daytime, you pick them up and you had the room. And at nighttime, you fold them down and then you go to sleep. I think it was. I think it was.
It was. That's what they had. Table and chairs.
And my mother, I remember my mother scrubbing them floors, wooden floors on her knees.
No carpet.
No carpets, wooden floors with a brush, an iron brush, in a hallway and in the house. Used to make those floors sparkle, wooden floors. Today they got so soft. They got a washing machine. They got this. They got that.
So jealous.
And there was, and they never cried. You know, that they would say they were tired. There was no such thing as being tired. And besides that, she used to sew pants.
My father was always a scaffold maker.
What is
Scaffold. The board that's outside of the building
When they
that
build
they
a
stand
building,
on.
they put the scaffolds to meant to
Well,
go around, as it, you know, to put up bricks and
Well, he
things.
was always a scaffold maker.
Scaffoldman.
So, of course, it was hard to get work here. So wherever they could get work, they would go out
Go
to
out of town for months.
And I
and
remember
months.
him going to Springfield, New Jersey.
And that was
Monday
like
morning.
for me to.
He would leave on a Monday morning.
I mean, Springfield, New Jersey, he would go there to go to work.
Yeah, to go to work. Go away Monday morning and come back Friday night.
Yeah.
For $45 a week. Now,
At that time, it was
supporting
big
9
money.
children.
That was big money.
So one night, my father had handlebars.
Mm-hmm.
So one night, on a Friday night, there was a knock at the door. So we were children. We opened the door, and all of a sudden we ran back and we're pulling on to my mother. What's the matter? She says. I said, there's a man at the door. It was my father. He shaved off his handlebars.
Yeah, they didn't
And
know.
we didn't recognize him, and we were crying.
My father put the same thing.
And you know, he used to get a big charge out of it. He loved to do that. He used to get a big charge out of things like that.
The years ago, they didn't have such things as sellers used to buy this grape and squeeze the juice up in a room there and put the barrels in one of the bedrooms, in the part of the bedroom, and make the wine ferment.
You mean they used to make wine where?
In the house. In the rooms with the borders and all. We used to make the wine, put 2 or 3 barrels, make it ferment, and we used to get some wine out of it. Very good. And at times we used to, the smell of that wine used to get us at nighttime. You know what wine is when it smells, it starts to ferment. A lot of people used to do that because they used to make their own wine. It was cheaper to them. They couldn't go and buy wine, or at that time they didn't have gallons of wine like they got today from California or things like that. So they used to make their own wine. And it was pretty good wine, too. The only thing was that they didn't have the facilities of cleaning it up the way they should have. Go ahead.
Oh, my father made it, too. But we were a little richer than you. We put out down the cellar.
Yeah. What about when your father made the wine for my father? I'm not going to say how many barrels. But when he made the wine for my father, and then your father got
Getting
paid.
dirty now.
And then he says to him, all right, pick one of your own barrels for yourself. The whole thing was vinegar. Every barrel. Everything was vinegar.
Are you insinuating my father know how to make wine?
It wasn't that your father didn't know how to make wine. It was something with the grape. It was
That's
kind
different.
of wet.
But don't you
Money, what'd you do to
insinuate?
your tooth? You broke it?
What tooth?
This?
You're not supposed to talk.
What?
He's putting that in it, too. What you do to your tooth?
Which tooth?
Yeah, it's
Yeah, that.
shorter. It's short. How come?
Oh.
The other side. That, right there.
This one?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's
You
short.
better get it fixed up. You
Well, isn't
better-
that something he brings in the tooth?
It looks like hell.
It looks like hell. That's it.
It's
That's
not
it.
long enough.
No,
It's
it's not
shorter,
long enough.
much
You'll
shorter
see
than
for
the others.
yourself. Get it fixed.
I think the beard did that.
Yeah, it brings it out.
That's it.
But with the vinegar in itself,
He
with the
made money
vinegar
on it,
itself,
tell him.
they got money because good vinegar was
They sold it as
much
vinegar.
more profitable than wine.
Mm-hmm.
Good vinegar.
So you could just imagine what it looked like, in the kitchen, all this box of grapes piled up. Then, of course, he used to pick it out, take it, bring it downstairs, and he used to put it in this barrel that was sawed in half, put on a pair of black boots, and start mashing it, running, walking around in the grape. And then, of course, when it was mashed very, very good, he would take it out and put it in this, in
barrel.
Italian we say,
No.
stringiture, to strain it real tight.
Okay, you're wrong.
Now
If he did it with his feet, he didn't have to use the machine.
Well, how you gotta get the
The
juice
only
out?
time-
How you gotta get the juice out?
The only time they used their feet is when they didn't have the machine. And then,
Mixed up.
no, I'm telling you.
Now we got mixed up.
No, that's the way it is. The only time they used it with their feet, when they didn't have the machine to grind it.
Well, I'm not talking about the grinding machine. I'm
That's
talking
what
about the
you just-
machine that squeezes it.
That's the grinding machine. That's what stringiture. Now they have it. Don't tell me, because I made wine too.
Oh.
And
Well,
in Europe,
well, anyway, my father had good wine.
you-
Well, my father was in Italy. He was my father was in the...
Start from his mother and the whole thing. Start all that.
Well, I can't say all that.
Well, no, you say it was...
Well, he was from his mother. He didn't know who his mother was. He had been on his own So he went in to live with some family.
Yeah.
And these people took him in. Of course, then he went away to be when he became of age, he went away to be a soldier in the cavalry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And he stayed there. And of
Where?
course,
What town was this and where?
Bogina
In Sicily.
in Sicily. Bogina.
In Sicily, too.
See, he was different nationality from us.
Well, the towns, one after
The
another.
town was
got
one right
towns,
after the other.
One after another, told me nothing.
This day, they were coming through the town, through my mother's town. Of course, everybody comes out on the balcony to look at the soldiers going by. They're in uniform. They're beautiful. He wore a blue uniform with a hat with a big white plume on it, and he was on horseback. And, of course, my mother was on the balcony, and when he passed through, he looked at her and she looked at him, and it was sort of love at first sight. So he brought out an instance that he said that the balcony was so low that if she just put her hand down, she could,
That's the truth.
she
We
could
saw
touch
it.
him.
We saw it.
Now, when I went
saw
to
it.
Italy, I asked my aunt to take me over to my mother's house where she lived. They brought me over to the house, and that was true. I took a picture of it, and the balcony was really that low that you could have touched him. See? Well, anyway,
You lost all the film?
Sure.
sure. On account of somebody touched the camera,
That was it.
that was it. Big-hearted herd, he's got to make everybody fiddle around with the camera. You know,
I lost a lot
touch
of good
this and
film.
touch that, and I lost my mother's picture.
I lost a lot
But
of
I'm
good
going to
film.
take another one of it. Well, anyway, then, of course, they fell in love. So they courted for about 22 days, and then they got married.
Mhm.
So my sister was about 6 months old, and he kept calling her to come to America. But my mother didn't want to come. She was afraid of the boat. And every time he would call, come to America, it's nice over here. It'll be different living. Well, anyway, to make a long story short, he got so mad, he says to her in the next letter, if you don't come to America, I'm going to leave you. So she got on the next boat and came over.
Yeah, but you said that...
She didn't want to get on the boat.
She didn't want to. Every time she got on the boat, she turned back. They tricked her. They tricked her into getting on the
That he
boat.
was going to America with her.
He says to her, I'm going to America too with you. So he put her on the boat, and as she turned around for a second, he just faded
Got
out
off
of
the boat,
sight.
and that's it.
Well,
Who's
she
that,
remained,
her brother?
my
Yeah,
uncle.
Andrew, he died.
She became frantic. Naturally, it was too late. The boat had started out. But it took her about 30 days to come to
Very
America.
bad trip.
Very bad trip. And of course, they looked like peasants, you know. My little sister with the little kerchief on, and her, they really looked. Well, anyway, they came to America, and they went and lived, I think, on 3rd Street. Then they lived across the street.
Mhm.
Then eventually, my aunt came. So naturally, there's no place to live. So you come and board with us.
Mhm.
So they took my aunt in, my uncle, and her son.
That's 3 plus
So that's
19.
3 plus 9 children. You figure it.
3 plus 9 children?
Plus
Right.
plus the
Plus
two.
my mother and father. 11. And 3 is 14.
Well, that's a
so
quarter.
so my aunt occupied the bedroom. The kitchen was in the middle. And my mother, father, and the children were in the living
3
room.
rooms, worse than us. 3 rooms.
And don't forget, they used to have their babies at home, too.
No,
Don't think there was
no
hospital.
such thing as
They used to
a
call the
thing as a
midwife, and
midwife.
the midwife would come in.
That's
So
right.
you were born here?
The twins were born at home.
Yeah.
The twins are who?
Me and my brother Charles. And of course, there was such a big row that time over the twins. Somebody wanted the girl, the other one wanted the boy.
What do you mean somebody wanted?
They want to take them.
Because they got excited. 2 kids. How are you going to feed all these kids?
Oh, you
So
mean
one
they
woman
wanted to
says,
take-
don't get excited, I'll take the girl. What do you think this is? What do you think this is? A bargain basement? I'll take the boy? What is this?
You had it wrong.
Charlie, I was right.
What were you right about?
My father used to smash the grape
Yeah,
with
but
his
not-
feet
But not with the...
and then put it in the thing.
But no, they can't. You mash it once. Oh, my God.
Your father didn't have the machine my father had.
Yeah, well, we had machines, all right.
Continuing joke.
You don't know him, Mardik.
Well, what kind of work did it exactly do besides scaffolding? I mean, where did he work? What kind of things happened to him? I mean, was it dangerous?
father?
What was it like? Yeah.
There was a lot of things. You know, another time he came home, he hurt his arm, and he was out of work so long. And, you know, when the master of the house was in work, it was hard on us. My mother used to sew pants to keep the family going. My mother was a very fine hand sewer. You can't remember, but the older people will remember when I mentioned his name. My mother made pants for Daddy Browning, a millionaire.
He married...
He married a
Peaches.
young girl. Her name was Peaches. Right. I'm serious. And my mother was such a fine sewer that and he used to go here on Arnheim on 9th Street to have his clothes made, and they used to give the pants to my mother because her sewing was beautiful.
With
so
9 children?
fine.
Yeah.
And my mother used to take the clothes, listen to me, take the pants, sew them, and she used to teach us how to sew. We had to sit by her and do the seams up to, and the children, who was running around, who was wet, who was hungry, who we had to give a bottle to. That's how we were raised. My mother used to finish the pants, fold them all up nicely, make a bundle, and carry them back to 9th Street. They would give her another batch, and she'd come back. You had to bring them and deliver them.
Homework. It was
Homework. Nobody would come to the house and pick them up.
I'm going to do the same thing.
And actually, she taught us. She taught us how to sew. She taught us how to knit, how to crochet, how to embroider, everything. We did everything. We watched her and we learned. Mm-hmm. But it was tough. And she had to help out, too. So my sister lived with, my mother lived with her mother. Mm-hmm. Wait a minute, in the hallway. Be careful. Who's in the hallway?
What's happening?
Come up and down. I forget.
Somebody's going up and down. Just be careful. No, you never know. So my mother used to live with her mother, after, or wherever it was. She lived in somebody's house anyway. So she says that talking about things that used to happen in Italy, there were strange things. They used to tell us these stories. If you want to believe it, you believe it. But, the way it was, I'm sure my mother wouldn't lie to us. She says that this night she was sleeping, and the baby woke up. And, of course, the women used to nurse the children. There was no such thing with a bottle. So she got up and started to nurse this child. As she nursed this child, she's sitting up in the bed. Now, at the foot of the bed, she saw this man appear to her. He was all in silver. And he says to her in Italian, I'll say it in English, if you hit me with something, I'll make you rich. So she got scared. So she took the little baby and pressed it closer to her chest. So the man repeated it. If you hit me with something, I will make you rich. So with that, she got scared and he disappeared. Now they claim that after they sold the house, these people started to dig. They were fixing the house. And they dug and dug and dug. And you'd be surprised, they found all these silver coins under the ground. Now, I'm sure my mother wasn't lying. These were stories that she said.
And this happened when she was alone there?
She was alone then.
And where was her father?
My father was in America at the time. Mm-hmm. So then I guess...
Well, you see, let me put it this way. Years ago, they all were great storytellers because, as I said before, you had no television, no radio, nothing. You used to get, actually, people, they used to come to the house and tell stories to kids and everybody and say stories for hours and hours. Real stories that you don't know whether you had to believe them or not. But they say stories that, and they were very interesting. They used to keep you on your toe. Either to keep us quiet or what it was. But
no, you'd be surprised.
Some fantastic stories.
Fantastic stories.
Some fantastic stories.
Did she tell her husband that story? And what did she...
Oh, no, then she told... No, wait a minute, that's right. Then she told, when she... in the morning, she told the people she was living with, whether, I don't know if it was her mother. So the man says to her, you stupid thing, he says, you could have hit him with the baby's diaper, anything you had in your hand. He says, you would have became rich. Then who knows?
Who knows?
You know, who knows? So one time, we had, as we got older, we got more, not civilized, The children got older, you got boyfriends, you brought them up the house. You wanted the apartment to look nice. So we painted the apartment, and he had this great big picture of him hanging on the wall in uniform, which was beautiful. And it was about, this big, a big picture. Mm-hmm. So when we painted, we figured, the boyfriends come up. You don't want those things hanging around up there anymore. You want to better yourself. So we didn't put the picture up. Well, anyway, he didn't notice it. I guess for some reason, I imagine he figured the house was just painted. They didn't get a chance to put it up yet. Well, one day, a neighbor of ours came up, and she says, well, my father's name was Martin, but a lot of people called him Philip. I don't know why. Don't ask me why, but they called him Filippo. Mr. Filippo.
I don't understand.
I don't know why either. Don't ask me why. I have a brother, his name is Salvatore. They call him Charlie.
That's the same thing with me.
That's my twin.
My name
His name is Luciano. They call him Charlie. Why?
Anyway.
My name was Catherine. They called me Kelly. I don't know why.
Anyway, what happened?
Well,
So this woman
anyway,
came in?
so this woman came in and she started to tease him. And she says, Mr. Filippo, I don't see your picture hanging up anymore. Well, that's all he had to hear. He figured now for sure, I don't see my picture up anymore. Well, he turned to my mother. There was an awful row in the house that night. That woman was very embarrassed. She says, if I knew you were going to take it up like that, I would have never mentioned it. He says to my mother, I want that picture tonight because I'm going to break it. So she says, well, you know, they started to make excuses, but he was fit to be tied. He was furious, and that woman felt very, very bad. Till this day, may he rest in peace, we never gave him that picture.
And,
my brother has it.
Another
That's
thing.
a beautiful picture.
I mean, you didn't give it to him?
No.
How do you think we made the other picture?
Oh, because he would have broken it.
And this
He
is
would have
funny.
broke it to bits.
And this is funny. After the man dies, they had the picture made and everybody got one apiece.
No. No, don't say that.
Come on,
No,
that's the
don't-
truth.
No, Charlie, don't say that. The big picture remained the way it was. My brother has it. But the small pictures, we all wanted one each because you had one. It is a beautiful
one?
picture of him.
Yeah, I got it.
It really is beautiful.
How long was it before he became a citizen, though? I mean, we want to get some idea of what these people
Well,
were
I don't
doing.
know. My sister Mary knows that, see?
Well, anyway, you could tell what happened with the immigration thing.
Well, when he went to, he wanted to be a citizen, he had to take my sister along with her because she had to be the interpreter.
Right.
So, he couldn't speak English. He says a few words, but not in sentences,
Yeah.
So, of course, she went up to the girl there and she says to him, you want to become a citizen? So, of course, he didn't understand her. So she says, you got an interpreter. So he called my sister. Come in. So she says to my sister Mary, she says, your father doesn't understand or speak English. She says, no. She says, how long is he in America? She says, 30 years. She says, why, that's terrible. She says, and he can't speak a word of English? She says, I think that's terrible. So he says to her.
No, he said to Mary. He said to Mary. What did
So
she
Mary,
say?
so he says to Mary, what did she say? So my sister Mary says, she says that it's vergogna that andando in America, manco sa parlare americana. He says, oh, yeah? He says, go.
He told her something in English?
So he told her something in English, a dirty word. Go in yourself. So she says, oh, that's terrible. She says, get him out of here.
So he never became a citizen?
Oh, he was a citizen. Yeah, he became a citizen.
Well, how many times did he have to go through that?
Well, I don't know if they have to renew it then, But that was funny. He said, I'll show you if I know how to talk English, he told her.
You knew the right word.
That word they always learned.
When did he move to Staten Island?
My father
as a
moved
kid,
to
they were
Staten Island.
children.
We were kids. Wait a minute.
They bought the lots.
My
They put
brother, I think
200
Andrew was about 2 years old.
They bought
What
lots.
did they-
We
what did
bought the
buy?
lots. We didn't have anything. So this man came, and he was a friend of my father's. He says, he says, I have a lot of lots out in Staten Island. I'll give them to you real cheap. You don't have to pay me all at once. Whenever you have the money, you pay me. So he gave him one lot for $200. That was something. So, of course, there was a little bungalow on it. But really, we couldn't afford it. But just for like cooking his own meal,
Yeah.
oh, he loved that. He had to have certain gravy,
Yeah.
certain tomato paste. My mother had to make it in the summer, preserve it, because he wouldn't want to eat this. He wanted his own. And he would make it, and it would come out so dark because it was really dry, And he loved it. And then what would happen, he would make the macaroni, and he'd call everybody in to eat. Come and taste it. Come and taste it. How are we going to eat if we taste yours, Pop? You had to taste it.
You had to taste them. He used to save them for us. Save them. That was a truth, boy. That was amazing. Now that he's gone, they destroyed everything. They just made it plain grass and trees, that's all.
Where?
In Staten Island.
Well, there's nobody to take
Nobody
care
could
of it.
take care of it. There's only
Nobody to garden.
there's only my sister-in-law, his sister.
Yeah.
And nobody could take care of it, so she had it all cleaned up, and it cost her money to clean it up, too. Had some beautiful stuff there. It was all gone. It goes to show you, when they build it up, the father or mother builds it up, and then nobody else wants to take care of it.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
I remember one time we had a fig tree. I used to love fig trees, and my mother couldn't stand them.
Yeah.
In the wintertime, you had to cover them very, very well. Otherwise, they froze. One winter, when he did climb up, he was getting old. He fell off the ladder, and he got hurt. And my mother was so angry. She says to him, I hope those fig trees die. I hope they never bloom again. She says, and then, of course, my mother became ill, and the next winter she passed away, and trees never bloomed anymore. It was just like she took them with her. And that was that. Now, that's enough for today, Marty.
Okay, that's it.
That's good.
Oi.
I hope my sisters don't get after me because I have 5 sisters. And they're going to kill me. Katie, they're going to say?
Oh. Well,
Is that all for today? Now, listen, could I put my furniture back?
What furniture?
You know, things in here. Could I set up? These things are going to be upset tomorrow again? No, I mean, I can't stay this way. I have to vacuum the rug, wash my dishes. Right?
Huh?
When you leave, not now. What are you laughing at? You're thinking of Papa, Grandpa?
Yeah.
Oh, but the way he told. And he says, you know, he stands there with his hands behind his back and he says, go, and he emphasized it. My sister Mary says I will never take him out with me anymore. He embarrassed me. That was in the office. He says it's unemployment. I don't remember. Well, of course, you always had to take an interpreter because he didn't speak English. Mary says, as far as me, she says, I'm not taking him any place anymore. And that's a shame. Make me say things like that. Is he still taking this? No. I'll murder you. You won't get out of this house alive.